Sometimes after Jesus gives a parable, he'll notice that his disciples don't quite understand what he just said. And this parable found in Matthew 9:14 through 17 makes me feel just like the disciples, honestly. So we're going to take it slow and we're going to digest the text a little bit because it's a different one. So here we go, verse 14. Then the disciples of John came to him, saying, "Why do we and the Pharisees fast, but your disciples do not fast?" And Jesus said to them, "Can the wedding guests mourn as long as the bridegroom is with them? No, the days will come when the bridegroom is taken away from them, and then they will fast. No one puts a piece of unshrunk cloth on an old garment, for the patch tears away from the garment, and a worse tear is made. Neither is new wine put into old wineskins. If it is, the skins burst, and the wine is spilled, and the skins are destroyed. But new wine is put into fresh wineskins, and so both are preserved." Okay. So Jesus' cousin, John the Baptist, his disciples are kind of confused at the lifestyle that Jesus' disciples live. Like, hey, we're on the same team, right? Like you also love God. Why aren't you doing this practice of fasting that we're all doing? This practice of fasting was understood to be done at least once a year, but there were still other chances for the Jewish people to fast throughout the year, with Jesus' disciples not doing it at all that much. And so it was weird. They noticed something odd about this. And this doesn't mean that Jesus thought the idea of fasting was legalistic or wrong and you shouldn't do it. Okay, in fact, in Jesus' teaching in Matthew 6:16 through 18, Jesus is going to go on to say, when you fast, not if you fast, because the understanding is that they would do it. He had some expectation for his disciples to do this practice, but Jesus' response to John's disciples shows us that Jesus didn't care for the legalistic practice of fasting that was so ingrained in this custom of theirs. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't think I've really ever laid eyes on a wineskin. Not sure what this is, but as our text describes, to mix the old wineskin that they would ferment these wines in with the new would just ruin the wine. It would ruin the wineskin. That's not how you made wine. And Jesus makes this analogy to them to show that the misting of the old legalistic heart of the Old Testament, of the law that they had, with this gospel of grace that Jesus was introducing, doesn't work. It's not what Jesus is trying to do. Fasting is not a sin, but fasting as a means of keeping up the appearance of holiness, or to get right with God, or to try and do enough to earn a seat at the table, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And in the book of Galatians, Paul was actually dealing with people trying to do this very same thing. There was this church in Galatia that had believed the full gospel, that Jesus Christ died on a cross, rose again, and it's His blood alone that we are saved, and it's by faith that we accept this. But this group of Jewish Christians, I use in air quotes, came and they said, hey, that's true, but there's a little more that Paul is missing here. If you really want to be saved, you should, yes, put your faith in Jesus, love Him, follow Him. But we also have this law of Moses in the Old Testament, this thing that you need to do to show that you belong to God. So if you just do that and keep up following Jesus, you'll be set. But that's not what saves us. The extra step, it's not Jesus plus anything, it's Jesus alone saves us. Only can the blood of Jesus wash us clean. And while we must have faith, faith is the act of accepting what Jesus has done. It's not a work. It's not something that earns you a seat at the table. And while I think many of us agree with the text, what we're talking about, legalism has no place in the heart of the church, I also think sometimes as we serve in the church, we can allow small ways of legalism to creep into our hearts. We think, I'm a Christian, so I must go to church. That's what I do. It's how I'm good. That's how I'm saved. Show I'm holy. I'm a Christian, so I must serve my community. I'm a Christian, so I must fast. That's what I do to earn a place at the table. And while all these things are good, and I think that we should do them, none of them earn us a seat at the table. Only Jesus does. These are just practices to help us learn more about Him and know Him. So let us go forth and serve Him and love Him, not as a way to meet the law, but to do just as He did and love